Hello again. I'm out here on Coldwater Lake near Mount St Helens. I took a little hike around the northwest side of Coldwater Lake. Pretty views along the way. Nice paved path, boardwalks, really easy trail, really no elevation gain. Nice views of the lake here in spring. It's May. It's a warm day in May. The bugs aren't too bad yet. Don't see any mosquitoes, maybe a few biting flies, but actually pretty nice day, pretty nice experience so far. Well, I found a place I want to set up and paint. I like this view of Mount St Helens. It's kind of unique. It's hit nicely by the sun. But I think instead I'm going to paint this direction, north on Coldwater Lake, at those distant rusty hills with a little bit of snow on them. That's just making a more interesting composition today. So it's a little late. It's almost 5 o'clock. I don't want to be out here in the dark. Since it is May, the sun does set late, around 8:30 or so. So I've got quite a bit of light, but I've got a long drive back home as well. So I'll keep it to a small 8x10 panel and just get the basics down. As always, thank you for joining me. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe. First thing is I'll get my gear set up, get my on Plein Pro easel set up and my paints laid out. Quick rundown on my gear here. I've got real terps here and Gamsol distilled mineral spirits here in this bigger container. I've got a little bit of terps here in this small cup that I'll use for the initial wash, just the pure terps. It's nice to use those outdoors. It really helps the paint to set up. Since I'm right above the water here, I don't want any of my solvents or my oil paints to go in the water, so I'm going to be careful with any drips or spills. I may lay a piece of wood down right below my canvas. I've got a board that I can lay down right below my canvas and catch any drips from the canvas. I don't want to contaminate this beautiful, pristine lake. So I've got titanium white, cerulean blue, cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, sap green, burnt umber, burnt sienna, alizarin crimson permanent, cad red, cad yellow, and cad yellow light. That should be plenty for this scene. I've got my 8x10 panel that I gessoed. I've got the 1/3 lines drawn out just to help with the composition real quick. I'll do a couple photos with my iPhone and just crop and arrange, play with it a little bit. I'm pretty sure I want to do a landscape. The question is just how much of the scene in front of me do I want to catch. I'm thinking something like that would be nice, but I'll play with it a little bit. That's quite a bit to catch in the time I have. So I might go even tighter and get less of the mountain. We'll see. What's interesting me is that little jut of land coming out and catching the light in front of that reddish mountain. So I may zero in more on that and just make sure I capture that effectively and not worry too much about that snow-covered mountain off to the right-hand side. Even though it's pretty and interesting, might make my life easier if I just ignore it for this painting. I'll get finished setting up and do the turpentine wash and then do the drawing directly into the wash and go as quickly as I can. Alright, I have a composition now on my iPhone that I'm going to refer to just while I'm doing the initial wash to get the initial composition down on the panel. But first, I'm going to have a little cup of coffee and enjoy this beautiful spot. The lapping of the waves, the nice gentle breeze. It's warm here today, probably around 75 degrees, but the breeze feels really nice off the lake. This is a handy little trick. I got this mount for my iPhone. Just an inexpensive little mount off of Amazon to hold my iPhone. So I have my composition with the 1/3 lines on the composition I want, cropped in on the view I want. And that helps me to draw as I paint very quickly, to have the composition right in front of me, this viewfinder. Once I have the rough outline in on the panel, I won't refer to the iPhone anymore. I'll refer to the actual scene in front of me. However, if a dramatic lighting effect comes along, let's say some clouds come over and throw something into shadow or a brighter spot of light, I've even had storm clouds roll through and throw some rain and a little rainbow on the scene. I can capture that really quick with my iPhone because it's right there and it's charging. I always bring my big battery pack wherever I go. So this is kind of a neat little thing. You can attach it to your tripod and it's right there for you to refer to. It helps with the initial drawing phase, and it'll also be there to help you if the light changes quite a bit, which it does when you're plein air painting. When you're painting outside, the light is going to constantly change. The weather can change on you. Opportunities can come up that you're going to want to capture. So always take lots of photos, and then when you go back and do that masterpiece in your studio, you can pick the perfect scene. Refer back to your sketch that you did with the colors that you saw that day, and really come back to the feeling you had that day, but also get that perfect lighting effect, make a really dramatic painting. What you're seeing me do as I do this initial wash is to scrub these 1/3 pencil lines out. So I scrub a little bit in certain areas to wipe away those pencil lines. Sometimes I leave this wash showing in the final artwork and I don't want those pencil lines left over visible. At some point I may get good enough where I don't have to draw the pencil lines on there. I think I'm getting pretty close to being done with it. You know what I used to do? I would do a pretty detailed pencil drawing of the scene before I started to paint, and that works great as well, especially if you're not real confident with your plein air skills. But as I've gotten a little bit better and a little bit freer, a little bit more dynamic with my plein air, I'm sketching with the pencil less and less, and I think I'm about to the point where I can do away with these pencil lines and just go with the wash and draw into the wash. But we'll see. I'm constantly experimenting. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I usually always learn something from it, and I usually always have fun doing it. Okay, I have the initial wash in. I'm letting that set up just a little bit. Next, I'll take a paper towel and wipe away the lightest lights. If I need to, I'll wet it with a little bit of mineral spirits. I'll wet a brush with a little bit of mineral spirits to wipe away the paint and expose the white of the panel again for my lightest lights. And then I'll immediately start to lay in some of the colors, the darkest colors first. Okay, now I have the lightest lights wiped away. I'll go ahead and mix up the colors. I'm going to move quickly, try to mix up just general big patches of color. Just a few values and get those down. Try to capture what I see, the darkest dark, the lightest light, and one or two of the midtones. You can see the light is dim, so it's hard to compare. The sun is hitting the mountain in the distance. It's not hitting my knife, so it's hard to judge the color. It's a little easier to judge the color down above the lighter color of my palette down here, and also against my panel. So a little tricky in this kind of light where I'm in a little too much shade at the moment to get a good idea for color matching. So I'll just have to do the best I can, and hopefully it'll come close and I can use it in the studio. I've got this back scratcher. Works great to keep my hand off the panel, so I can prop it on the panel and I can prop my hand on it and not touch the panel and give my hand some support. It telescopes down, so it's easy to pack with my brushes. Sky is pretty close. Just after the initial wash and the wipe down, I'm going to leave it alone. It's close enough. The snow on the mountains is also pretty close to what I'm seeing there, with just a little bit of red hint from the wash and most of the color wiped away. I may come back in and add just a little bit of the bluish shadow I see on that snow at the end if I have time today. So I'm going to start with this #1 Rosemary Ivory Filbert. Great little brush. I love these rosemary brushes. Ivory is a great one for getting down paint pretty quickly, but also it has maintains a nice sharp edge, so you can really do some detail if you need to. So I'm going to try to draw in the mountain there and then rough in the shadows first, and then I'll get a little bigger brush and do the majority of the mountain. I'm exaggerating the blues I'm seeing in the shadows just a little bit for artistic impact, but also to help me remember the blues I am seeing out there that I know are not going to be captured in the photographs I take. I know when I get this video and these photos back to the studio, the blues I'm seeing in those shadows are not going to be as pronounced. So I'm taking a little note, I'm exaggerating a little bit on my panel in my painting, just so I remember. And I'll use a little bit of judgment, a little bit of artistic license when I do the final touch-up of the painting, or if I do a larger studio painting. I'll remember that nice blue. I'm really enjoying the sound of these geese on the lake. They come flying by and their shout is just romantic. I'm loving it. Well, I got finished. Running out of light. I was here for about 2 hours. I should have started a little bit earlier, gave myself a little more time, but I just had a wonderful time. I mean, how lucky am I to be able to do one of my favorite things, painting, in such a lovely place, and to take a nice hike while I'm at it, listen to the lovely sound of the water and the geese. Just a great way to spend the day. And I think I have enough of a start on this painting that I can make something out of it. Finish up the little painting that I started, and maybe even do a larger painting based on the scene, because it is a beautiful place. Well, let me show you what I have. Here's the finished painting. I like the rusty reds in the mountain. I think the value is a little dark compared to the scene. It's hard to tell because I'm in such deep shade here, but I got the right color family, but I think I need to maybe raise the values a couple notches. I didn't get to the middle ground or the lake really at all. It's just remained with the wash. That's okay. I have lots of pictures that I took. I have the video I filmed while I was here to use as a reference, and a good memory of the day. I took a couple color notes on my palette as well that I'll save. But because it is such deep shade here, it's going to be a little hard to tell. So I'll need to maybe look through the reference photos and find one that I like and base the rest of the painting on that. But just look at how beautiful that mountain got as the shadows came in. As the sun's setting, the shadows are lengthening, and it's just lovely. There was a time when there was some light on those middle ground trees as well, and that's probably what I'll make out of this little plein air painting, and I may go ahead and do a larger studio painting. Well, anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you coming along with me on these hikes and these paintings. It makes it a lot more fun for me to share what I create. As always, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe. I have about an hour-long hike ahead of me, and the sun's setting fast, so I'm going to get with it. I hope I see you out here on the trail someday. Leave a comment down below if you get something out of these videos, or if you have a favorite trail that you'd like me to check out. I'm not doing much traveling right now, but in the summer, hopefully, I'll be getting around a little bit more to the state parks. Well, here's the finished painting. I touched it up a little bit, finished the foreground and the lake here in the studio. I tried to leave it alone as much as possible, leave it as it was after the plein air session. So the mountain in the background and the skies is pretty much as it was on that day. Thank you so much for watching the video, and if you made it this far, then you obviously enjoyed it. If you'd like to see a longer version of this video, hop over to my Patreon page, and for a small donation, you can have access to a full-length real-time version of this video with no time-lapse, every brushstroke shown. So for those die-hard fans out there who want to see a little bit more and maybe to follow along on the painting, please jump over to my Patreon page and enjoy those videos. I'll also be putting up more content there, my inspirations, my future directions, the artists I enjoy, the books I enjoy. So any support that you can give, I really appreciate it. It allows me to do more of what I love to do, get out and hike and do more paintings. Thanks again. Thanks for joining me.